What is going on? GeoFux, Site Perspectives. We're going to be discussing yet another mass shooting. There's been over 100 mass shootings, and we are tipping into the second quarter of the year. April is approaching, and there's already been 100 plus mass shootings. The reason I'm getting on this, I've made countless videos talking about gun violence, mass shootings. You can look at my catalog on YouTube. You can go to that Site Perspectives YouTube channel and actually look at the videos that I talked about. Gun violence, mass shooting, mental health, being LGBTQ+, being trans, being intersex, being black, politics, economics, you name it. I've pretty much made different videos talking about it. But I have to jump on this because, again, 6 people, 3 adults, 3 kids were shot and killed, murdered with an assault rifle, an AR-15, an assault rifle. The individual who did it was white and allegedly identified as a trans person, a trans man, a trans masculine person. And for some reason, as usual, the right-wing conservative media, as well as because let's be honest, to me, anyways, the media is running with this and making it seem like one white trans person represents the entire trans community, represents the entire trans male, trans masculine, trans men, intersex men community. This is what I'm talking about. When somebody that's a part of a marginalized community does something wrong, horrible, terrible, when they do something terrible, why is it that they become the face of the whole community, yet white cisgendered men who are the main ones committing the mass shootings, committing the sexual assaults, committing the molestations, committing the rapes, killing their partners left and right? How come nobody is talking about how they need to be banned, restricted? And no one's talking about the cis man's testosterone hormone levels. Again, this is no different than when a black person does something, then somehow all of the black community is thrown under the bus. No different when someone who is presumed to be Muslim, presumed to be Middle Eastern, does something, and then next thing you know, the entire Middle East community, people from the Middle East community or people from the Muslim community are thrown under the bus and called terrorists. So now because this one white trans person committed a horrible act and killed 6 innocent people, murdered AR-15, a mass shooting, because one white trans person did this, somehow that represents me as a black intersex trans man. Somehow that represents the entire trans community. This is ridiculous. And this doesn't do anything but spew more hate, more bigotry, more division, and just straight up transphobia. That's exactly what it is. Because again, when a white man does something, when a white cisgendered man does something, they get to be individuals. They get to be themselves. A lone wolf. Nobody's looking at the entire white cisgendered male population and saying, you know what? These white cis men are terrorists. Even though they're the ones that's the police that's typically killing unarmed innocent folks. They're the ones that were in the Ku Klux Klan. They're the ones leading the Proud Boys and the Nazis. They're the ones raping and molesting and killing everybody. And again, when you look at mass shootings in the USA, we don't even have to go back, but just because information will be in the description box, we can go back to the 90s on up to the current times. Most of your mass shootings were committed by white cisgendered men. And are we pushing to ban them? Are we checking white cis men's hormone levels to see maybe the testosterone in them is a little too high? Are we checking that? Are we looking at how they have been radicalized and indoctrinated to basically think that they're better than everybody else? And then let's even go further. It's cisgendered men in general, because you could be black and still be a cis man and still be a horrible person. You could be a gay cis man and still be a horrible person. Because at this day and age, it's cis men, regardless of their other identities. These are the same people that are typically the ones causing harm, not only to others, but also to each other and themselves. But again, are we coming up with legislation to get rid of them, to eradicate them, to deny them of basic human rights? No. And then, because the focus is specifically on the fact that this white trans person, allegedly trans man, trans masculine, trans person, did this shooting and killed 6 innocent people, because that is the main focus, nobody's really talking about the fact that 3 kids were murdered. 3 adults were murdered. Their families are forever changed. Their friends are forever changed. The students and the staff at that particular school, in that neighborhood, in that community, are forever changed. And again, last year in Texas, Uvalde, Texas, all of those young kids murdered. School shooting after school shooting, mass shooting at the Walmart, mass shooting at church, mass shooting at a concert, mass shooting at a damn movie theater. And nobody wants to talk about how Republicans purposely don't want to really do anything about mass shootings and gun violence. They're not really interested in protecting your children. They're not. But they want to sit up and make it seem like LGBTQ plus people and trans folks are coming after your kids. Meanwhile, your kids are being slaughtered in schools, left and right. Your loved ones can't even go and shop at Walmart without potentially being in a mass shooting. Can't go to church. Last year in Buffalo, New York, a gunman shot up a bunch of people at a grocery store. Last year in November, a gunman shot up an LGBTQ plus nightclub. And let's not forget Dylan Roof, who killed innocent people at a church. So again, this is an ongoing problem. Sandy Hook, Columbine, back in 2007, the Virginia Tech situation, that was a mass shooting on a college campus. Earlier this year in February, there was technically considered a mass shooting at Michigan State University. And in November of 2021, there was a mass shooting at a school in Michigan, at a high school. This is constantly occurring, and we have elected officials who are choosing to not do anything, not implement common sense gun laws. And I'm going to go on and say it, and I don't care. They need to ban assault rifles. End of discussion. Because why does an everyday citizen need to carry an AR-15? Why does an everyday citizen need to have an assault rifle? And don't say it's because you're hunting. Because if you're using an assault rifle to hunt deer, what type of meat are you really going to be eating? You're not going to have much venison left. Because again, that's 30 rounds. You're going to be slicing the entire body of the deer up. So there's not going to be any trophy of the deer. There's not going to be any venison steak, venison jerky. None of that is going to be happening with an AR-15. And then when you see the damage that is done to human bodies when they are being hit with AR-15s, when you see the damage that is being done to little children, to kids at school by assault rifles in the hands of unstable people. And then and I also want to throw it up, the Republicans are also the same party that in a large number, information will be below, a large number of them voted against expanding mental health programs and resources. Even though this is the same party that's always, well, mental health is such a problem, and that's why these young men, when it comes to white cis men, that's why these young white cis men are going around and murdering everybody, and they didn't get their way, so they went to the school and shot up everybody. It's the mental health. But then they turn around and vote against expanding resources and programs to address the mental health crisis that we are currently facing and dealing with. And then they want to, and I'm going to go on and say it, they want to use the LGBTQ plus and trans community as a scapegoat. Blame us for every damn thing that's going wrong in the country, in the world, and ignore all of the other things that's actually causing the problem. This is also the same party that doesn't want your kids to have food at school. They don't want to support school lunches. They want your child not only to be shot up at school, but they also want your child to starve at school. And this is also the same party that doesn't really want your kids to have clean, suitable drinking water. You know, safe buildings to have the school in. So, you know, but again, this one white trans person has now become the face of the trans community, of the LGBTQ plus community. But let's just keep it real, in specific, the trans community. Here it is every single day, we are losing rights. Trans people can't go to the bathroom, can't play sports, don't have access to health care, can be discriminated against when it comes to trying to get a job, housing, shelter, food. There's entire states that I know I am not safe in. Entire states that I know I am not welcomed in. And this is from the same party that's always talking about freedom, rights, liberty, justice. I'm doing a video, justice for all. It is the same party that always says that this is what they're standing for. They're fighting for freedom and rights, but then they turn around and deny entire groups of people of those same freedoms and rights. The hypocrisy is alarming. Trans kids deserve to live and thrive and prosper and make it to adulthood. Cis children are not the only children that matter. Cis people are not the only human beings that matter. Heterosexuals are not the only people that matter. White people are not the only people that matter. Cis men are not the only people that matter. Rich people are not the only people that matter. Christians are not the only people that matter. Able-bodied people are not the only people that matter. Now, yes, what happened in Tennessee, what's happening around the country over and over again is horrible. It's sickening. It's devastating. Innocent people are being murdered and killed every single day by guns in the hands of people who have no business having them. And then once again, this white trans person legally purchase 7 firearms. They were able to purchase these firearms legally in the state of Tennessee. So again, what are we going to do to actually protect the children? Protect the people in the schools? Protect everybody? What are we going to do? Are we going to continue to scapegoat our problems on marginalized communities that don't really have any power or equal or fair representation? Or are we really going to address the problem at hand? Once they lifted the assault rifle ban that lasted a decade from 1994 to 2004, we had an assault rifle ban, and it did reduce the number of mass shootings and killings. It really did. Information will be in the description box below. But that ban on assault rifles was lifted in 2004. And ever since 2004, here we are, 2023, 19 years later, 2 decades later, basically, and all you hear about is mass shooting. Someone got killed here. A bunch of kids got murdered here. A bunch of church people got murdered here. They were at the spa. They went to the movies. And all you hear about is people dying, being killed, murdered, slaughtered. And every time you have we're going to march for our lives. Remember, after the Parkland mass shooting in Florida in 2018, we're going to march for our lives. Moms against gun violence. Everybody is coming together, but yet elected officials aren't doing what they need to do to protect their constituents. Instead, let's blame a marginalized population. Again, what that white trans person did was wrong, horrible, despicable. However, that person allegedly being trans has nothing to do with why they decided to kill innocent people at a Tennessee Christian school. And if we were really serious about mental health, we would have universal health care that covered mental and physical health. So people can actually get the counseling, the therapy, the medication that they deserve, that they need. If we actually cared about mental health, we wouldn't have people working 2 and 3 jobs to barely make ends meet. If we actually cared about mental health, we would pay living wages so people aren't living in poverty. If we actually cared about children, we would have assault rifles banned. We would have common sense gun laws and protections in order to keep the children, the parents, the families, the adults, the communities safe. But that's just it. This is not about protecting anybody. This isn't about protecting the children. This isn't about protecting you. It's not about protecting me. They don't care about us, ultimately, because at the end of the day, they view us as a number. A number that pays taxes. Yet a number that pays taxes and doesn't have equal representation. Doesn't have proper representation. Rest in peace to the 6 people who lost their lives yesterday. Sending love, positive energy, and my condolences to their families, to their friends, to the people that they worked with, to the people at the school, to the children at the school, to their families, and to that community. And around the country and around the world, because people are being killed every day. People are being abused and harmed every day. And we just sit around and allow it. And this happening in a supposed Christian country. We need gun control.